Imagine being able to walk into any room and subtly guide the flow of decisions without saying a single persuasive word. You don't need charisma, authority, or even the perfect argument. You simply shift how others perceive you, and their brains do the rest. This is not hypnosis, it's neuroscience. Today, you'll learn the code of silent influence, how to use rhythm, micropauses, and nonverbal synchrony to activate the imitation circuits in the human brain that make people align with you almost automatically. Let's start with a hard truth. People don't decide based on logic. They decide based on what feels familiar and safe. And the fastest way to create that feeling isn't words, it's rhythm. Every brain constantly scans for rhythmic harmony, for a pattern that says, "This person is like me." When that signal appears, trust and compliance rise instantly. When it's missing, even your best arguments fall flat. Here's the first tactical code: rhythm entrainment. Think of it as aligning your internal metronome to the other person's nervous system. The human brain contains mirror neurons, tiny synchronization devices that fire both when you act and when you observe someone else acting. When you subtly match another person's rhythm of breathing, blinking, or gesturing, those neurons begin to mirror you. The result is a subtle merging of states. They feel you as part of their own mental model. Here's how you install this code. Step 1. Observe before you influence. Spend the first 30 seconds of any interaction simply tuning in. Watch their breathing pace. Are they speaking fast or slow? Are their shoulders tense or relaxed? Now match just one element. If they breathe fast, slightly increase your own tempo, not to mimic, but to synchronize. Once you feel the rhythm connection, begin to guide. Slowly lower your pace. Their body will follow. Their nervous system takes your signal as leadership. You've just shifted control without saying a word. The second code, micropausing. Most people sabotage influence by rushing through speech. They fill silence because they fear losing attention. But the human brain values what it must anticipate. Every pause increases the listener's neurological investment in what's next. The silence pulls their focus forward like gravity. The science is simple. When a pause appears, the brain's prediction circuits light up, searching for closure. Whoever controls that rhythm controls attention itself. So here's how to apply it. When you make a statement of authority, pause for half a second longer than comfort allows. Hold eye contact. Say less, but say it with gravity. For example, instead of saying, "I think we should take this direction because it makes sense," say, "We're taking this direction." Pause. Let the silence seal it. The pause tells the nervous system, "This is final. This is stable. This is leadership." Over time, you condition those around you to anchor on your rhythm. They follow without realizing why. Now we move to the third layer, tempo signaling. Every brain syncs to perceived leadership through micro changes in pace. Imagine a conductor guiding an orchestra. If the conductor rushes, tension rises. If he steadies, calm returns. Your speech and gestures serve as that conductor's baton. Rapid tempo spikes, like short hand gestures or bursts of words, create urgency. Slow, measured tempo stabilizes and reassures. The key is to alternate them intentionally. When presenting an idea, start slow to build credibility, then accelerate slightly to trigger excitement, then slow again at the close to anchor trust. This three-phase rhythm is how elite negotiators and world-class speakers subconsciously direct emotion in a room. The silent command embedded in tempo is, "Follow my stability." There's deep neuroscience behind it. The brain's anterior cingulate cortex tracks prediction errors, moments when rhythm breaks. If your tempo stays chaotic, the listener's brain flags you as unpredictable and lowers trust. But when you lead with smooth rhythmic variation, you trigger oxytocin release, the same neurochemical that underlies bonding and social coherence. You literally become the nervous system people want to align with. Let's combine these elements into a single tactical sequence, the silent influence loop. Step 1, match rhythm. Step 2, guide tempo. Step 3, anchor with pause. Here's how it looks in practice. Imagine you're in a meeting and someone challenges your idea. You first slow your breathing to match theirs. You nod once, mirroring their intensity. That's synchronization. Then you shift your tone, slightly slower and more deliberate. Their brain follows that rhythm subconsciously. You hold eye contact and add a brief silence before your response. The silence resets the emotional field. Now, when you speak, you're the tempo leader. The group's attention naturally centers on you because their brains have locked onto your rhythm as the stable source in the environment. That's not manipulation. It's neuro-leadership. It's how social animals align in every hierarchy. The same circuitry that synchronizes flocks of birds or schools of fish governs human meetings, sales calls, even family conversations. Whoever owns the rhythm owns the group. Here's the fourth code: nonverbal congruence. The moment your words and body signals conflict, the brain defaults to the body. Nonverbal cues are processed by the superior temporal sulcus within 200 milliseconds, long before language comprehension. That means influence isn't about what you say, but what your physiology transmits. The simplest fix is coherence. When you make a statement, check alignment across 3 channels: posture, tone, and gaze. If your words say confidence but your posture shrinks, the listener's mirror neurons pick up the contraction and tag your message as incongruent. To correct it, expand slightly. Shoulders back, breath steady, chin neutral. Say less, occupy more space. The nervous system reads expansion as certainty. But here's the subtle upgrade: dynamic congruence. True influence comes not from fixed dominance but adaptive stability. You expand when presenting authority, but when listening, you contract slightly, leaning in, lowering your tone. This creates a rhythmic oscillation between presence and receptivity, dominance and attunement. The listener's brain reads this as mastery. You're not rigid. You're in control of the rhythm of connection itself. Let's move deeper. Silent influence also relies on something called micro-affective signaling, the invisible cues of facial muscle tone that communicate emotional states beneath words. A genuine half-smile, slight softening of the eyes, or a calm blink rate can regulate another person's limbic activity. The amygdala, the brain's threat center, constantly scans for microtension. When it detects neutrality and safety in your expression, it reduces defensive activation. This means people literally become more cognitively open when your micro-expression signals calm authority. Here's a code you can install immediately. Before any interaction, perform a 5-second facial calibration. Relax your jaw, lower your shoulders, exhale through the mouth. This downshifts your autonomic tone. Your face communicates safety. Then, during conversation, hold neutral eye contact, neither piercing nor avoiding, for about 3 seconds at a time, followed by a micro glance away. This small rhythm of connection and release mirrors natural social flow. It tells the other brain, I'm safe, I'm aware, I'm leading. Combine this with rhythmic speech and you've created a full neural loop of influence: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic coherence. Most people chase persuasion through arguments, but persuasion is the symptom, not the source. True influence starts in the nervous system and only later becomes belief. Once you align at that deeper level, logic follows automatically. Now let's talk about the performance leak that kills silent influence: internal noise. You cannot regulate another's rhythm if yours is chaotic. Before any high-stakes conversation, run a 30-second nervous system reset. Breathe in for 4 seconds, hold for 2, exhale for 6. As you exhale, visualize the excess activation leaving your body. This pattern engages your parasympathetic system and rebalances your internal rhythm. When your heartbeat steadies, others unconsciously match it through cardiorespiratory coupling. That's biological leadership. Your physiology becomes the metronome for the environment. One calm operator can neutralize an entire room of tension simply by maintaining coherent rhythm and controlled micropauses. You've seen this in elite performers, surgeons, negotiators, athletes. They operate in slow motion because their nervous systems dominate the tempo of the situation. Every fast mind around them slows down to match. That's not charisma, that's control of time perception. And time perception is the foundation of authority. Now let's go one level deeper, the hidden layer of perception called Neuro-Resonance. This is where silent influence becomes almost invisible. When two people interact, their brainwaves can synchronize in measurable patterns, especially in the theta and low alpha ranges. This synchronization correlates with rapport, trust, and even persuasion outcomes. It's what makes you click with someone instantly or feel inexplicably drawn to agree with them. The question is, how do you engineer it intentionally? You do it through precision timing, through the deliberate control of micropauses and vocal tone shifts that guide another person's predictive model of you. Every human brain runs a simulation of what you'll do next. When your behavior matches their simulation for just long enough to build comfort and then subtly leads it forward, you create a state of guided anticipation. The person's attention narrows toward you because you become the most predictable and rewarding source in their environment. That's when influence becomes effortless. So here's your next protocol, the 3-step rhythm of alignment, anticipation, and direction. Step 1. Alignment. Use mirroring and tempo matching for 30 to 60 seconds until you feel a sense of internal ease with the other person's pace. Step 2. Anticipation. Create tiny variations in your gestures or tone that their brain begins to predict. For example, if you tend to pause after every third sentence, do it again, intentionally, until they unconsciously expect it. Step 3. Direction. On the fourth round, break that pattern. Pause longer, lean in slightly, or lower your tone. Their predictive model updates instantly, interpreting your variation as a leadership signal. You've taken control of the shared rhythm, and because the shift is subtle, it bypasses conscious resistance. Silent influence operates best when it never feels like influence. Here's why this works at the neurological level. The brain's mirror system doesn't just imitate movement, it also simulates the emotional and intentional states behind those movements. When you control micro-expressions, tempo, and pauses, you're effectively programming the emotional data that another person's brain receives. They feel what you feel before they even realize it's happening. That's why emotional regulation is the real amplifier of this code. You can't fake calm, you must become it. Emotional coherence, your ability to maintain steady internal state under pressure, is the foundation of quiet authority. A practical drill for this is the slow exhale method. Before entering any conversation, take one full breath in through the nose for 4 seconds. Hold for 2, then exhale through the mouth for 8. This creates what's called vagal dominance. Your heart rate lowers, your voice deepens, and your facial microtension releases. You instantly project composure. Within 15 seconds, the person across from you begins to mirror that calm through parasympathetic resonance. You've shifted the room without a single word. Another powerful tactic inside the silent influence code is gaze modulation. Eye contact is not a static tool, it's rhythmic. Continuous staring creates threat response, while random darting signals uncertainty. The optimal pattern is rhythmic connection and release. Maintain soft, steady eye contact for about 3 seconds, then glance briefly to the side before returning. This subtle rhythm mirrors the natural oscillation of attention. It tells the other person's nervous system, I'm confident enough to look away, yet present enough to stay engaged. Their brain interprets it as balanced dominance, which raises perceived credibility and trust. Combine gaze modulation with controlled micropauses and your communication gains magnetic weight. You no longer chase attention, you anchor it. Now let's talk about how to use this code in high-stakes settings, negotiations, leadership moments, and social influence scenarios. In a negotiation, most people focus on verbal arguments. The elite operator focuses on state control. Here's what that looks like. Before presenting your key point, slow your breathing and lower your tone by 1 octave. As you speak, end the sentence, then hold a deliberate 2-second silence. Do not fill it. The silence applies pressure, not aggression. It creates cognitive vacuum. The listener's mind rushes to fill that gap, often by agreeing or nodding. You've led their neural tempo. Then, as they respond, subtly mirror their phrasing or small gestures to re-establish rapport. You alternate between connection and command like waves. This rhythm, connect, lead, connect again, is what keeps influence sustainable. If you dominate too long, resistance builds. If you match too much, authority dissolves. The master balances both through rhythm. In leadership communication, apply the same pattern visually. Your movements should have clarity and space. When you walk into a room, pause at the doorway for half a second before speaking. This pause signals spatial confidence. When you gesture, make each movement distinct. One action, one message. The motor cortex of your observers mirrors what it sees, so the cleaner your signals, the clearer their emotional response. When your gestures and tone align perfectly with your message, coherence occurs. The audience doesn't just understand you, they feel you. That's the essence of silent authority. In social or personal situations, use this code to build deep trust. Humans are wired to detect authenticity through micro-rhythms of attention. When you listen, truly still your internal commentary. People can feel when you're preparing a response versus when you're fully attuned. Practice minimal reactivity. A slight nod, a short exhale, and silence for half a second before replying. This pattern tells the other brain that you're processing deeply, not performing socially. The result is magnetic presence, the sense that your attention has gravity. People are drawn to those who make them feel heard, and the reason is biochemical. Attentive stillness triggers oxytocin and serotonin release in the listener's brain. They associate that state of safety with you. Over time, that's how influence compounds. The longer you maintain this silent rhythm, the more people default to your tempo and decision-making. Their nervous systems literally use you as a calibration point for social reality. This is how elite leaders command rooms, how top negotiators close deals, and how performers mesmerize crowds. Their secret is not louder expression, it's quieter control. Let's consolidate everything into one operational model, the code of silent influence. Phase 1, regulate your own rhythm. You can't lead what you can't control. Phase 2, sync with the other person's rhythm through observation and subtle mirroring. Phase 3, guide the shared tempo using micro-pauses, tone modulation, and physical congruence. Phase 4, anchor the interaction with calm authority, slow breath, steady gaze, and spatial stillness. Once installed, this sequence becomes automatic. You'll find that conversations start flowing your way, not because you pushed harder, but because you stopped competing for control and started directing the rhythm of it. That's the highest form of influence, invisible, effortless, and entirely under your command. The deeper you integrate this, the more your presence itself becomes persuasive. You'll notice people speaking slower around you, matching your phrasing, agreeing faster, and trusting your direction without demanding explanation. It's not luck, it's neuromechanics executed with precision. And here's the final insight. Silence doesn't mean absence. In influence, silence is signal. Every pause, every breath, every still gesture carries meaning. The people who master that language control rooms, organizations, and outcomes. It's not magic. It's the disciplined application of neuropsychological rhythm. The code of silent influence isn't about manipulation. It's about coherence. When your internal and external signals align, others sense authenticity. When they sense authenticity, their defenses drop, and influence becomes natural. This is the evolution of communication, from persuasion to entrainment, from talking to transmitting. From this point forward, treat every interaction like a rhythm you're responsible for conducting. The tempo, the pauses, the flow, all of it creates perception. Master that rhythm and you master response. You don't need to speak louder, you need to resonate deeper. That's the secret of leaders who command without pressure, negotiators who win without resistance, and creators who inspire without effort. Install this code, refine it daily. And if you're ready to build a complete arsenal of mental codes like this, tools that give you measurable control over your psychology, performance, and influence, subscribe to Success Code. Because here, you don't just learn how the mind works, you learn how to program it for power.